last night we put out a cooler with a bunch of ice packs in it on our porch, and we wake up the next day like Christmas, and there's a bunch of dead cow and pig in it. And it's like
magic.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. It's like the elves came, the slaughter elves.
Carcass fairy. It's perfect. Yeah. I love it.
Okay, we've started. Thank you for coming, Tammie.
You're welcome. I'm so glad we started with like a song intro. It's good.
Listen, there we go. We're going to be just fine. It's the song intro is fantastic. I got really criticized because I didn't introduce guests, but it's like, if you read the title, it's not, I got criticized by somebody on radio. It was Nate Shellman, but Nate was like, you don't introduce your guest. You don't let the viewer know who it is or the listener. It's like, okay, that's fine. But they find out who it is when they click on the title. They're like, oh, Tammie with Fair Idaho. Like, okay, I'll listen to this. So I always thought the intro was superfluous, but you are the new executive director of Fair Idaho.
That's true. Yeah. Do I get a cool intro where I get to be like introduced as the new unicorn or something? Can I get a cool intro if I couldn't get rap songs?
Okay. And here we are with Tammie.
Yes.
Tammie, the new, what is it? The new executive director of Fair Idaho.
Yeah.
On air. How are you, Tammie?
Doing well. How are you?
Oh my God, this is the worst intro ever. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming.
I made your worst intro ever.
I made it worse. Listen, you actually are the new executive director of Fair Idaho. I actually got connected with Fair Idaho a while back before you were part of them, when you were still with the City of Eagle, because people started reaching out saying, hey, we need more advocacy for local stuff, right? And of course, the question is, all right, local what stuff? Like local t-shirt sales or like local restaurants? Or what? I mean, what is it?
Support for all local.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like, there's this mass economy of local providers of things that is really trying to cut through the haze in a very clear, accessible manner to help patrons understand, like, look, this is what we have to offer. This is who we are. This is how we're doing it. For instance, there's this guy, and I don't think he may actually be Brad McIntyre of McIntyre Pastures.
He's a member. I just actually reached out to him yesterday.
Oh, fantastic. Pull this a little bit closer. The people want to hear from you. There you go.
Do they want to hear me this close? Yeah,
that's fine.
Okay.
Just don't be like this.
Oh, I can't? For like dramatic effect?
Dramatic effect. Okay. It's fine. Just lean in. But yeah, Brad's a perfect example. We actually now exclusively buy protein from McIntyre Pastures. And by the way, it is fire, like both in quality, and there's going to be a fire on your barbecue, because we did these pork steaks the other day, and he told me all about this process where he lets his pork run longer than normal because they want more like essentially marbling in fat. He's like, he used to get pork. It was always just a mess. It was like super dry. I hated it. Mm-hmm. So they let their pigs go, I think it's like 60 days longer than normal, and get more fat on them. And man, not only was it the best pork I've ever had, but my barbecue absolutely lit on fire, because like, you have all of this fat just dropping off. It's like, God bless it, man. Yeah. It's awesome that he's a member as well.
It is. I reached out to him because one of your local coffee shops needs eggs here in Eagle. So I was like, well, do you head to Eagle at all? And he said, we do, once a month. So it's probably for you.
No, I think they come more than once a month. We put a cooler out. It's awesome. So they do delivery for our area between 3 and 6 a.m. So like last night we put out a cooler with a bunch of ice packs in it on our porch, and we wake up the next day like Christmas, and there's a bunch of dead cow and pig in it. And it's like
magic.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. It's like the elves came, the slaughter elves.
Carcass fairy. It's perfect. Yeah. I love it. Isn't that the best word? I've got to figure out better words here.
That was the best. The carcass. Did you have that teed up?
No,
you really are. You are
you.
caffeinated.
I know.
Oh, God bless you, woman. Okay. So it's not just, tell me about the breadth of members that you guys have, because it's not just, for instance, providers of protein. Like you're dealing with, food and beverage, you're dealing with restaurants, you're dealing with all manner of different entrepreneurs.
Yeah. Everything from field to the fork. So we have bar members, distributors, producers, restaurants, grocery stores, everything that runs the gamut from field to fork.
Okay, so field to fork is essentially just a movement, which is like you want the whole process from the soil all the way to the consumer's plate, and skipping over the processing middlemen, the distribution middlemen, the whole thing, which is like, can we just connect consumers to the producers?
We need the distributors for that. It's part of the infrastructure to get those people to market, but we include them. Like they should be involved in the process. But if they deliver local, it's our preference.
Gotcha.
So we have like Charlie's Produce and we have Shamrock Foods, and they deliver local foods, but they also distribute outside because you can't get an avocado grown in Idaho. So you need to have some diversity within the market, but we produce a lot of local things here, so we help get those to market.
MTU Studios is the proud producer for the Ada County Sheriff Podcast, the Idaho Wildlife Federation Podcast, the State Representative Ted Hill Podcast, the Idaho State PTA Podcast, and many more. If you or your organization is thinking about starting a podcast, MTU Studios would love to help. Just check out mtustudios.com. Fun fact about avocados. The Mexican cartel actually makes more money off avocados than they do off of cocaine. This happens because what they do is they actually have a legal avocado farm that is capable of producing some X number of avocados per year. And then what they do is they have illegal avocado farms that they then run the avocados through the legal one. And so now instead of producing X number of avocados or X pounds of avocados, they're now producing like 10X, and they sell them at market rate without any of the regulation that goes along with having a legal avocado farm. How wild is that?
That's super interesting. I was talking to Charlie's Produce the other day, and he was telling me that the price of avocados had gone up exponentially because there was an attack on USDA workers in like Chihuahua or Mexico or somewhere. And so they couldn't get the avocados here to the States. So supply and demand, price went up. Dude. Avocados become scarce, supply chain broken.
The guacamole.
I know. I'm terribly allergic to
guacamole?
To avocados. Isn't that horrible? It's
You're
like a crime.
terrible
it's a
person.
Crime. I know. It's a crime.
I mean, what do you do?
Not eat it.
No, but like in life, like how do you cope?
I'll survive without him because that's the only way to survive.
Like, do you literally break out in hives and everything?
No.
Oh, it doesn't matter. I don't want to know about the details.
In for vomit and yeah, no, they make me super sick. I can't eat them.
Okay, well, stay away from that. No big deal.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of Envision?
No, what's Envision?
I envision. I don't know.
Okay,
it doesn't matter.
Okay.
But the reason I found out about that avocado thing is they actually are a company that tracks from field to consumer to guarantee. So you have, they coined this.
AI tracking, right?
Yeah. So they ensure provenance, which I was like, why do you keep saying provenance? I don't understand. Like, but they want integrity in the supply chain to make sure that you don't have illegal avocados, that people that are, for instance, grocery markets or even consumers can have confidence that they're like, look, when I get this chicken or when I get this avocado, not that you would eat it, when I get this, I can have some manner of guarantee that this was done in the way that they are telling me it was done.
Yes. Yeah. No, that's super interesting to me.
Do you guys?
I've never heard of that company, but
you are aware of like the AI tracking.
Yeah,
it's wild stuff. So, what's the history of Fair Idaho? Because you obviously are a very robust advocacy group, working with legislators, working with community members, working all across the state of Idaho, which is awesome. But is this something that has been going on for a long time? Because to a degree, Idaho was very insulated from a lot of outside forces. And then obviously we have market forces like Amazon coming in and destroying a lot of things. But again, as Idaho has become more popular and really a hotbed for migration within the United States, things have changed here.
Well, sure, they've changed. But no, Fair is new relatively. They started 4 years ago in the midst of COVID. To help support some of the restaurants and get producers to get their food into the local restaurants, because without places to put their produce that they were producing in the fields, they were dumping it. And we had supply chain breakdowns everywhere, all over the country. And that's when Fair was born, and did a lot of advocacy to keep the restaurants here in Idaho open, and they did. And now it's just evolved, and we've gone into different spaces. That liquor licensing thing you and I were talking about earlier, farmland preservation, USDA, and access to markets. We've expanded our operations a lot.
Gotcha. Yeah. So the liquor licensing, and I did a bit with Margaret Carmel about that. The liquor license really had two primary issues that were being considered in the last legislative session. One was you have things like the Star Merc that is, we have state-run liquor stores here, okay? And to get a state-run liquor store, you have to have a certain population threshold. And Star, until recently, was below that threshold. So Star didn't have a state-run liquor store. that doesn't mean that the state says, okay, because your population is so low, you do not get to have a liquor license. So instead of saying no liquor for you, they have what are now considered grandfathered liquor licenses to private businesses that fill that need, fill that gap within a local community. So Star Merc had a liquor license, even though it wasn't a state-run liquor store. Because Star grew, the state said, okay, now you guys are going to get a state-run liquor store. And by the way, Star Merc, we're going to take your liquor license away, which is a huge problem for Star Merc. They're like, listen, this is part of our business. Love it or hate it, doesn't matter. We have created a business around being able to sell this commodity. So part of the legislation was to address that and essentially have grandfathered stores come in. The other part was dealing with resort towns, and the fact that you have very limited liquor licenses with restaurants or liquor stores within resort towns that then have a permanent population versus a resort time population, right? So like summer or winter, depending on whatever the resort town is. And because of that, the liquor license equation that they use is it's not the same as with Star, which doesn't have like a swelling population because people flock to Star in the summertime or wintertime. And there was a lot of turmoil there because some people had established businesses that they had purchased liquor license for, and because they were so scarce and profitable, they could be upwards in like $200,000, $300,000 to purchase a liquor license.
Totally.
They're like, listen, if you loosen the regulations on liquor licenses, if you say, hey, we have more people coming in now than we ever have, we need to have more liquor licenses, then my $400,000 liquor license that I paid for is now significantly devalued. So you've essentially stripped my asset of value, and this is part of my business model, right? Those are the two factors. And again, really complex and how they work out. And frankly, there is no right answer to these problems.
Yeah, I think that it's super nuanced, and I wouldn't pretend to know everything about it. FAIR was really involved 2 years ago. Last year, they've been involved in a bunch of different legislative acts with it, and had a lobbyist going forward with it, have engaged stakeholders and experts. But yeah, it's complicated. It's super complicated. And until you kind of see the effects of the past legislation, it's really hard to make an opinion for things we haven't already seen. So almost letting the dust settle and seeing what that looks like to those that are using their liquor licenses.
Right.
Maybe that's the way to go, just to see what this looks like.
Aside from liquor licenses, what is FAIR doing to help with farm preservation? Because you mentioned farmland preservation. This is a really hot thing. I spoke with Tammie Nichols from the Middleton area, and I've spoken with former Rep. Melissa Durant, whose husband is a farmer down in, I believe, Cuna. There are all of these problems with farmers in Idaho that are now farming between houses. They're getting, their center pivots reduced in size, which is crazy because anybody who knows pi r squared area formula recognizes, like, if you reduce a center pivot by like 10 feet, you could be substantially reducing the percent of irrigation capacity of that pivot, like far more than you would expect. Yeah. The point is, what is FAIR doing, or what's FAIR's place in that kind of struggle? Yeah,
that's a super great question. I was doing research to be on your show because I wanted to sound like I knew what I was doing, not like I just like choked on my spit. Maybe, listen, I'm not saying I choked on my spit. I'm just saying maybe I've choked on my spit and I don't want to sound like I did.
Oh my God, that's the second one. You had carcass fairies and choke on my spit.
This is what happens. I cannot have coffee before I come on. But did you know that Idaho has 2,500, I'm sorry, I knew I was going to get this wrong, 25,000 farms, and that equals 11.5 million acres in farmland?
I did not know that.
11.5 million. I had to double check. Like, I double, triple, quadruple check that number because I was like, 11.5 million. That sounds like a huge amount of farmland, a huge amount of production land. It's huge.
Right.
So then I wanted to figure out, I was telling my kid, I was like, you've got to hear these facts. You're never going to believe it. He's at University of Idaho. And he was like, yeah, but I'm going to need to know like a really understandable percentage of the state to understand what you're saying. Because like 11.5 million is just a number I can't even get my head around.
Right. Like how many acres are in the state? It's like, well, there are only 12 million acres in the state, and 11.5 of those are farmland.
There's one house. It's fine.
Right.
No, it's 20%. It's over 20% of our state is in farmland, which I thought was remarkable. Right. I mean, it really does reflect how pivotal it is to our economy. I don't know liquor, geez. See, too much caffeine. I don't know what farmland preservation legislation looks like this session. There was some really substantial legislation passed this past session. So I look forward to seeing that go into place. I mean, I know there's going to be conversations, and I know that we'll be involved in those conversations, but it'll just depend. I got to know FAIR like 2 years ago. I was working for Canyon County in economic development, and Canyon County was working on its comprehensive plan and updating its comprehensive plan. And in that comprehensive plan, there were a lot of people that were saying, we need to work on farmland preservation in this. If Canyon County's economy is largely an ag economy, why isn't farmland preservation built into this? So I put together a coalition of people to talk about this: seed companies, ag, conservation companies, organizations with land trusts, lots of people. And they talked about it, then approached the Canyon County commissioners to talk about deeper impacts for farmland preservation. And they did. It happened. So that's how I get to know FAIR.
Yeah.
So they've always been in that space. We'll continue to be in that space.
So what can be done? Like what are the forces? I mean, obviously it's very clear that there's a very clearly understood mechanism for financial benefit with farmland, right? Mm-hmm. And that's actually shifting, but it's still being used for financial prosperity. A BSU professor, Talley, Jared Talley, Dr. Jared Talley, really bright guy, born and raised in Idaho, found academics later in life. And he even self-described himself as like an idiot in like his 20s. He's like, I just thought I was dumb. Mm-hmm. And he reported reading things about the economic crisis, 2008 economic crisis. And like, I don't understand any of this. Like, I guess I'm just a dumb walking through the world. Mm-hmm. Found his way back to going to undergrad, started as a math major and then switched to some other things, and really incredibly bright guy. But one of the things he was, when we were chatting, he was talking about the shifting nature of resource utilization and management, because it used to be that you would pass down a farm to your children, to your grandchildren, to your great-great-grandchildren, and this was the engine of prosperity. This was the means of production for financial stability and in investment. It's like you have your job built into your house in the surrounding area, right? Mm-hmm. Like you would pass down a restaurant or something. Mm-hmm. And that was the means of financial stability and prosperity. Now we're still using that farmland, but we're using it less for, hey, let's generate revenue with the crops we grow, and more of let's hold on to this farmland until it's valuable enough per acre that we can exit and invest that money or take that money or do whatever we want. But if we have, X number of acres at X number of dollars, we win, right? Like that's what it is. So it's hold on to this as a retirement. I spoke with Lori Bishop. She was running for a Senate seat, and her dad was a farmer, and I believe a wheat farmer up in northern Idaho, who used even the barge system through the Snake River dams. And she was saying she actually got a little touched about it as we were going over it, because it was this thing where I believe her dad did in fact sell the family farm. And again, not out of, didn't appear out of desperation, but it was kind of like, look, this is the plan. This is how we're using this land, and this is how we're using, enjoying the mechanism. So there's this draw to shift away from the first model, which preservation is inherent in that model, because it's like, there's no world where we sell this farm. Like this farm's coming with us through the generation. So we don't have to discuss farmland preservation. Right. That's the OG model. The new model is this farm is going to be worth a dump truck when that guy wants to build houses. So we just need to hold on to this long enough so that we can then develop it.
But who knew it was ever going to reach these heights? Right. Like, I don't think anybody predicted. And even those that have sold their farms, understandably, because they were able to make money and retire from it if their kids weren't going to go into the farming business. But most people didn't have this as a succession plan, because nobody realized that Idaho would be the found gem that it is today and be so profitable. I don't think anybody was like, you know what? There's going to be mansions built here. Dry Creek will be here one day and I'll be rich. Like nobody, I don't think anybody really thought that. I think that times have changed. It is really valuable. Private property rights are an absolute thing. Capitalism is a thing. You should be able to do that with your land, should you wish. And today's generation isn't looking to work the fields primarily. Like, I'm making a huge generalization there, obviously, but they're not. They're not wanting to go into mom and dad's business and work in the fields. They see opportunity through education, and then they leave the state and go work in their big jobs. Right. It's unfortunate, but yeah, of course that happens.
Yeah, it is. It is definitely unfortunate. There was a really good point. Larry Callister is a retired he's explored the state of Idaho extremely. Like he was the original van life guy. He had like a Ford E350 like Explorer van with his wife, and he had this website. I think it was like Moby Goes, Moby, like Moby Dick, because it was this big white E350. Yeah. And he would explore all around, and he was also an outdoor educator as well. And he was saying when I had him on, he was like, "Listen, when I was a kid, he grew up in Oregon." Very rural area. Like when I was a kid, there were these creeks running by my house filled with coho salmon, like all of these things. And now all of it's gone, you know, like, and apparently there's some aspect of rubber wheels that degrades and then goes into the rivers and just like kills the salmon like crazy. It's like terrible. So it's just like just driving down the street, you're participating in killing salmon. But he was saying like, look, I picked strawberries. He's an older guy. He's like, I picked strawberries in fields around my house for $6 an hour. He's like, I was 14 years old. If that kept up with inflation, it'd be like $50 an hour now. Right. So the criticism that we experience frequently with this younger generation does not want to be farming in the same way the older generation was. It's like if you were paying $50 an hour to take dethassel corn, thistle, I don't know what
tassel.
it is. Tassel. Thank you very much. I know the bull and the cow rows. Anyway, detassel corn, $50 an hour, you would get a slew of 15-year-olds, right?
Would, yeah.
Just like this guy was back in the day, like picking strawberries for $6 an hour.
Absolutely. I mean, the economy's changed and our workforce has changed, and you have to keep up or not. And now you have this opportunity to sell. Of course, people are taking it. I think that we could do more to protect our farmland preservation through putting things in conservation easements, through going to our Canyon County commissioners and saying, whichever county, whatever county you live in, and going to them and saying, you know, this is actually this X amount of our economy here. If you get rid of it, we're no longer going to have a diverse economy here, and we will not be protected against whatever happens next with the economy. And you will have obliterated an option here because you can't undo a housing tract.
Right.
If you have a subdivision full of homes, you're not going to put rows of corn back in there. No one's going to be detasseling that house. Like it's just not going to work. So we have to take action at our local municipalities to see what we can do.
You just said conservation easement. I'm not familiar with this. What's a conservation easement?
Yeah, so
I'm an idiot. You have to treat me like I'm 5.
That's not true, and you know that. That's not true.
Well, I didn't even say tassel. I said be thistle. Thistle, like it's a stupid, not avocado, but no. What's the thing? Artichoke. You know, like the thistle.
Those are gross too. Ew.
How dare you?
They're fuzzy in the center. That's so disgusting.
What?
That's so gross.
Who hurt you? Like, what are you talking about?
So gross. That's so
You
gross.
take the fuzzy thing out and then you eat the artichoke heart.
Oh my gosh, that's disgusting.
Okay, anyway,
so disgusting.
I mean, too bad for you, more for me. Anyway, so what's conservation easement?
I do eat vegetables. A conservation easement is where you put your land in a trust, and no matter what happens with that land, you could sell it. You could bequeath it to your child. It doesn't matter. It stays in production or in ag land. It doesn't necessarily need to be in production. It just needs to not be developed.
Okay, but what is the benefit for somebody to put their land in like a conservation easement? Because like that doesn't, like anybody could just hold on to it and not produce, right? Like you just lose money.
Yeah, if you're not going to use the land, you're going to lose
It's like
money.
I'm going to put my house in a conservation easement, and it's like, okay, nobody's going to live there. I'm not going to rent it out, but like I could give it to my kid later. It's like I could do that anyway. Why?
No,
why
you totally
this
could, but
special designation?
you could sell it, and they still wouldn't be able to develop it. Like you could sell it to, doesn't even matter, you, me, doesn't matter, and it would be conserved forever in that ag land. So we wouldn't be able to develop it and put a second house on it or whatever.
Got that. So there's this restriction.
Yes.
But that restriction lowers the value of the property. So why would I, as the owner, be like, all right, let's say I have 2,000 acres. Mm-hmm. Like I got 2,000 acres. Awesome. I'm going to unilaterally decrease the value of this and just make sure nobody can do anything. And why would I do that?
Well, it's not necessarily decreasing the value, but I can understand why you're saying that, because you wouldn't be able to sell it then to a developer for them to develop. Yeah.
Sure.
But if it were to go to another ag family, for somebody else to move there and to farm that land still remains in production. 1 acre of hay can produce, I don't even know, like bushels of hay. Like, what is that?
Money. Are the wrong money.
Okay. Yeah, maybe I shouldn't have hung my hat on that one. But yeah, I mean, it's still productive land, and you could
Sure.
still make money off of it, and somebody could still absolutely use it. And so long as it's in the conservation easement, which at this point people can remove, like you are not stuck in forever and ever and ever. Like there are ones you can be stuck in, like you can opt to have it forever. So that when you bequeath your land to your son, he turns into a total ding dong and he doesn't want to farm it, and you're like, okay, well, that wasn't my intention with my land.
Right.
I wanted it to stay perpetually in ag land. And little Larry's like, nah, I'm going to put 7 homes on it.
Sure.
Little Larry doesn't have the option any longer, but you can also be paid through a land trust. Land trusts do conservation easements, and you can, like Peaceful Belly in Canyon County just went through a land trust, put her land in a conservation easement. She was paid for the value of the land, and now it'll be perpetually in ag land.
I would love, if you could help me, I would love to talk to this person.
Oh, Josie. Yeah, she's phenomenal.
Because that's the concern I have is that we're relying on preservation of the state to be predominantly fueled by altruism. And that's a failed policy, right? To say like, hey, farmers, please don't do this. And it's the same. Very interestingly, obviously there's a large criticism of people like me moving here and driving up home prices. Yeah. Guilty. Okay. Now, by the way, I did not pay market price. I paid under. So I drove the price down just a little bit. You're welcome.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Count it. Got it.
Yeah. And I was not like a multi-bid. It was December. Nobody was buying. The point is that there's a criticism that I think is valid, which is like, look, more people moving here, wanting to buy houses, prices go up. I've also heard the flip side of the people criticizing me and others like me saying like, okay, but where are all of the Idahoans saying, well, this person will pay me $500,000 for my house, but I'm going to sell it to this person for $300,000.
Right.
Like you would not do that. Like you can't criticize the seller. If the seller can get $500,000, you would never in a million years say you should sell it for less.
Right.
Same problem with ag land, which is like if a farmer's staring at his land and somebody's like, I'll give you $2 million for this, relying on that farmer to go against his own financial best interest and say, I'm going to sell it for $1 million to this person who promises to farm it and not develop it because like I'm a good person. That's a failed hope. Like that's a failed policy. That's not going to yield long-term benefits.
Right, sure. But ultimately it has to be approved by somebody. That development has to be approved by somebody. So if our municipalities, like say, let's just take yours, for example, and it's going to be a really terrible example now that I just played it out in my head, but like this is county land. You're in county land. You're not annexed into the city. All of this.
Not yet.
Not yet. Sure. Yeah, we'll go there, but that's a whole other different conversation. But this is county land. You're not hooked up to the cities.
Right. We have our own utility system.
Right. You're totally different, separate from the city. This is county land. That area could have been protected, could have remained in farmland. I don't even know if this area was farmed. It is foothilly. It's probably difficult to farm. You probably could have put a winery on it. Could have been multi-million dollars. I don't know.
You just go to the end. They're still farming it.
I saw. Actually, I drove through to see because there was like a sign that said farm this way. And I was like, oh, how cute. That's precious.
No. They're literally still farming it. Like,
well, I saw the pivots. Yeah. I saw the pivots. Yeah.
Just go all the way east. Like it was still, they're still growing.
And it also has a sign for its application of the county. To be developed.
Yeah. There it is.
But if the county had said, and I'm not suggesting Ada County should do this. Ada County is a metropolis. It's where our capital is. It's where there's Boise State. Like I'm not suggesting Ada County should have been like, now we're an ag county. That ship's sailed.
Right.
It still has ag economy, but it's not primarily an ag economy. But had Ada County 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago said, we really want to preserve this ag economy because this provides us X amount of dollars, which means, well, we can get into this, but those dollars then go into our taxes and offset our taxes. But had they said, we really want to maintain this part of our economy, they would have said, okay, well, we plan for this area to be housing, this area to be commerce, this area to be ag land. And then when somebody says, hey, I want to go buy Dry Creek and I want to put houses on it, they would be like, actually, we've decided that maybe that doesn't fit within the zoning and we could put a farm there, or we could put less homes there and still have those be farmable homes. Or there could be mechanisms in place where they could have actively done more protection of the land. They can't remove property rights, of course, and that's a good thing. But there's mechanisms for municipalities to say, this is what we'd like to preserve and this is where we'd like to build. Like maybe you can't build your subdivision right here because we've preserved this for our ag economy, but here's 7 different parcels where you can build and actually build more density right here because here's our commerce center and we want to have people working here. Like there's opportunity.
And there is precedence for this. I mean, very locally, Mark Butler came in, excuse me, last year and was talked at length about how he was very drawn to the city of Eagle because Eagle was intentionally preserving, rural large plots of land, like 1 acre, 2 acre, 5 acre plots on the farther areas out, not obviously city center, but they were intentionally preserving these things and trying to make sure that they didn't lose that piece. So even though
aesthetically,
for what purpose are you saying?
Yeah, like is it for aesthetics or is it because they wanted to keep those in farmland and preservation?
You would definitely have to talk to Mark Butler.
I do know Mark. Yeah, I think Mark's great. Yeah.
And the thing the point of this is not necessarily that like, oh, there's this function, but it's that, hey, here's this city making a distinct decision about how it wants to develop and preserving less dense, very different function properties, which is important, right? And like, if you're preserving 5 acre plots or 1 acre plots, when developers are just chomping at their bit to like make more houses, but you're preserving this stuff because you're like, we don't want that. And I understand this property will be potentially worth less or whatever it might be. We'll get less property tax or whatever it is. We'll get fewer sales taxes too because we won't have people shopping at our stores, whatever it might be. There's still precedence for people saying we're going to go with a lower density and a variety of function instead of just, 2 and 3 story places everywhere.
Well, I think there's a flip to that because then you don't have people to shop at those places and then you don't have people to work at those places and you haven't built density into your city center and really you've only done it for aesthetics and then it becomes exclusive and it's not necessarily for the economy, for the benefits to the economy. It's then for outside perspectives.
Right. And again, I'm not saying this is a complex issue.
Oh yeah.
Right. I think the functionality and the benefit of having an agricultural base within a community, Sean Dygert, who's running as Republican ticket down in, I think, District 23, I can't remember exactly where, but he does an incredible amount with ranchers in the area. And he said, look, one of the benefits of having agriculture and ranches and things like that is that they're very much immune to a larger degree to economic shifts. He's like, so when the entire economy goes kaplooey in 2008, it's like, yeah, property values went down, fine, but people are still farming. People are still ranching. Right. We still have to eat. So these, when you talk about the benefits of a county saying like, okay, look, we actually want to preserve this agricultural base, there's a very real functional reason why they're like, we don't want our community or our county to be greatly swayed by the ebbs and flows of the national economy.
Right. It's diversifying their economy, of course.
Right.
It's brilliant. Yeah.
And again, if you go just wall to wall with houses, and then you don't have your own engine. You don't have your own economic engine. And it depends, obviously, what you do to develop businesses within that community. And if you're not doing that sufficiently, or if you have businesses that rely on lower income workers and you don't have lower income housing, then you're really not, like, you're drawing on the surrounding areas to house and, produce services for people that then have to like schlep into your city and, work menial jobs.
That's all of that. Yep.
All of that.
All of that.
All
for
of
sure.
that.
Yeah.
All of that.
Yep.
So the bottom line is land conservation or conservation. What was the easement? There it is. That is really just a system to try to avoid relying on altruism and get farmers and ranchers and people with ag land to buy into a system that then presumably compensates them or helps them in some way. So they're like, okay, we can preserve this without asking you to give up like millions of dollars.
Yeah, totally. Which is, I think, a great mechanism because it puts it back on the homeowner or the property owner.
Senator Nichols did mention something about funding land trusts. Like, who funds those? Because I mean, obviously, so is it people that donate to specific trusts, and they're like, okay, this trust is charged with the task of helping X number of acres stay in agriculture?
For the most part. I mean, I couldn't speak for every model. You could reach out to them, but Land Trust of Treasure Valley in Boise, they are a charity that people donate to so that they can preserve ag land. Like you and I could donate, and
we should donate.
We should totally you should donate to FAIR, not sorry, Land Trust of Treasure Valley. I'm really sorry.
Donate to FAIR.
Donate to FAIR. You should donate to FAIR because we do the advocacy, so we could actually affect more change. alongside a land trust.
So with that advocacy piece, then you're going to essentially legislators and consumers, or just predominantly legislators, and saying like, hey, look, we need to do things besides relying on altruism, which, you know, the agency, what is it? Treasure Valley?
Land Trust of Treasure
Land Trust.
Valley.
Great.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, Land Trust of Treasure Valley is doing everything they can.
Yeah.
But like they're still beholden to people that are willing to open their wallets and give them money. Like, why isn't the state working in the state's best interest to say, hey, the state's economy is much more robust if we keep more of this ag land? Like, why are we letting it slip through our fingers?
Because ultimately private property rights prevail, and that farmer has the right to sell his land to a developer should the developer wish to develop subdivisions.
Sure.
Like,
let me be clear.
Yeah.
I'm not, when I was saying that, there was more of a question towards why isn't the state working to find a viable solution instead of removing property rights or making it otherwise financially untenable for a farmer to act in their own best interest, which God bless it. Like that's what we all should be doing.
Capitalism. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Is the state working towards that, which is like, okay, let's not try to ask everybody to rely on altruism. Like maybe there's a broader legislative solution here.
I hope so. I hope they're working on it. I haven't heard too much recently, but remember, this is like my 3rd month in this role.
Why don't you know all of this?
I know. I need to know everything. I wish I could just download. It'd be so much better.
It's like the Matrix. Just
man, one day that's going to be real life and I need it. No, I don't even pretend to know like all the reasons why our legislators take a hands-off approach. I would assume a lot of it has to do with we're Idaho and we don't tell you what to do. Like you can do what you want to do, and they don't feel the need to legislate that. I can super understand not being a legislator and not wanting to tell somebody in a county or in a city what to do with their land. Like ultimately you have to think broad, think about the state. I do think it's probably more on probably more on commissioners to do the job, and for the cities to be more conscientious when they ask for their ability to build into the county lands, to annex into the county lands, to be more conscientious about building within the city limits and to build all of the land that's available in there, because you can do infill projects, you can build up. There's a lot of opportunity within the city limits, so you don't have to go into the ag lands and build it all.
One individual running for county commissioner said that the destroying not Fair Idaho, the Idaho Expo Center.
Please. Please, no, we're small.
And again, he wasn't saying that they absolutely should be. He's like, but it should be on the table. And I was like, oh no. Like
to destroy the what?
The Expo Idaho.
Why?
The like fairgrounds for development. That he's like, we could find a better location for it. Let's not destroy it completely. Like, let's not destroy it without replacing it. Let's just replace it somewhere else on like the southern outskirts of the county or something like that. And just infill. He's like, that's prime real estate.
Yeah,
like,
it is in city center. It's like in the center of town. Like it's pretty close. Yeah.
But it's still awesome.
No, it is awesome. And it's agritourism. And for every $1 in agritourism, you get 2. So yeah, I can understand why you'd want to keep that. I would want to keep that. You should keep it.
Okay. You just had the second phrase that I don't know what's agritourism.
You don't know agritourism? Have you been to a winery?
Hang with me. No, I hate wineries.
Stop.
Honestly.
You can't hate wineries.
Listen to me. Look at me. Do I look like a guy who's like, oh my God, this Pinot goes so great with this piece of bread and cheese? First off, I'm gluten-free, so I can't take little things of bread.
Vodka for you.
What's
vodka?
That? That's not at a winery.
Fine. But it's at other places.
The second, I have 3 young kids. Like, I'm not at the stage of my life.
them to drink
I'm not at the stage of my life where I can like go leisurely enjoy like a wonderful Sunday with like a breeze coming over the hillside with like live music. I'm like, oh my God, and I get a headache, like the tannins or something.
Right, yeah.
I don't know how to pair anything. I barely put the right shoes on. Like, I can't do these things.
Okay.
Anyway.
But you've been to a hayride. You've been to like a corn maze, you've been to a pumpkin patch, all that's agritourism.
Okay.
If it has ties back to our ag lands, and you can recreate or tour or, have anything that I'm like losing the definition of agritourism,
but something that draws is an
within,
economic hub based on agriculture. Yeah. What's the giant pumpkin patch place just south? I can't remember what it's called.
2026.
No.
You mean the one with like the big scary house, the like haunted house guy?
No, the one with the pumpkin cannons and stuff.
What? No, there's no pumpkin cannons.
Yeah, there is.
They're shooting people with pumpkins?
Not people. You'd kill someone.
That's what's going on?
No, it's like this thing. Boom.
I have
I
no
can't
idea.
remember. It's like something farms.
Well, that would make sense. But...
Yeah. Okay. Obviously, right. Could have been pastures.
No,
I don't know.
It could have been. Yeah, you're right.
No, wait. It wouldn't be a pasture.
I don't
That would be
know.
animals, right? It's not
Yeah.
pasture.
No.
It doesn't matter. But something family farms.
I don't know.
It's coming back to me slowly. I'm botching this. But yeah, it's exactly like we drove 30, 40 minutes with my boys to go to this place. And then they're like running around and like they had this parakeet thing. I don't know why they had a parakeet thing on the farm, but they had like the pumpkin cannons. And then like we went out to the pumpkin patch and got the pumpkin. There was like hay rides and everything. It's awesome. Yeah.
Sounds magical.
So that's agritourism.
Agritourism. Yeah. You bought
We
stuff
need
there.
more than that.
Then buy lunch locally because you're over there. You're like, wow, the kids
Yeah.
are starving. We better feed these guys.
Yeah,
Plus they're
funnel
hopped up in
cakes.
candy corns. Like you got to do it. You got to spend money. Like you have to do it over there. So that's why for every $1, you get 2 in agritourism.
Oh, I got you. All right. So that's a good return then.
I think it's a good return. Ag has $2.50 to $3 return for every $1 spent.
Really?
Yeah. It's a multiplier.
Somebody told me recently that a residential development is a negative return.
It's a negative return.
So that's accurate.
It's accurate. Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay. So
it's a one-time hit. Like the municipalities get the permit fees when those developments come in, but it's not returning fee. There's no sales tax here. You're not selling anything.
Okay. So back up. So if we want to look at funding communities and funding counties, when counties make investments or saying like, hey, let's essentially let's figure out what to do with our land to get the best return. Building houses goes 100% counter to that.
Well, I mean, ultimately those house the workforce. So it's not entirely counter, but as far as your local like taxing, yeah, it's not.
Okay. So as far as local taxing, ag tourism is something that returns a substantial, but even greater than that is just like if we help preserve farmland, that's something that keeps paying off indefinitely.
Absolutely. Yeah. Manufacturing, there's lots of things that can pay more.
Say it with me. Matt's an idiot.
That's
I don't know these things.
True.
I don't know these things.
I'm sure you heard of multiplier. Multiplier just means that like for every $1 that's spent in this sector, it turns into X amount of dollars. And in ag, it's $2.5 to $3. And that's the employees that are using their salaries to go buy stuff at their local shops, at their retailers. It's them buying homes. So there is that little hit. There's a lot of mechanisms to where you could figure out what this would equal, but luckily people smarter than I am do the multiplier and figure out what the effect is. And for ag, it's 2.5 to 3. For agritourism, it's $2. For restaurants, it's $2 for every $1. I mean, that's pretty nice return. You want that.
You know what I want? I want a good Kung Pao. We need a place to move in here with like fire Mongolian
This is
beef.
why you need to start a restaurant. You need to open a restaurant, be an independent, come to fair, join fair. I don't know that you necessarily have to be.
No, because I know a lot of the cooks in Chinese restaurants in California were definitely Mexican like I am. So I have that going for me, but I don't have the recipes either.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
So it'd be hard.
So if an organization, if a restaurant or if a pasture or something wants to join fair, what do they do? Like, what are the distinct benefits that they get?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we leverage our networks to connect them to the markets. So by reaching out to us, they've already plugged in with like-minded people that we can help them expand their operations, regardless of whether they're producers or they're restaurant owners or bar owners or distributors. We can connect them. But also we offer a lot of other benefits to our members. Like we just re-upped our offer of Nice Healthcare. And I don't know if you've ever heard of Nice Healthcare, but it's so nice. It's both remote.
Let me guess.
It's so nice.
Nice is an acronym?
It's not. I don't think it is. I know I was writing it like it was forever, but I don't think it is.
Okay.
It would have been such a great opportunity, but I don't think it is. They both offer remote and in-person healthcare. So if they can't figure it out remotely, they'll send someone to your house. And it's $45 for the employee and their entire household. So like I have a household with my 3 kids in it and my husband.
Okay.
Covered.
For $45.
For $45.
I think I pay almost $2,000.
Oh, no, I've got insurance off the exchange as well. But this is what Fair has offered all of the members. Like we offer that to every single member. You can buy that.
Can I become an honorary member of
Totally you
Fair
can, but you have to open that Chinese restaurant. Yeah.
How about a podcast that focuses on fair advocacy?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Sold.
Done.
Yeah.
Because I love that $45 a month.
$45. And you know, my kids are in U of I, so like They're 8 hours away calling me. I think I have strep throat. I don't even know, fleas, lice. I don't even know. And I'm like, I can't help you from here. I wish I could help you, bro, but you're going to have to find a doctor. Sorry, you don't have your car. You're going to have to walk to the doctor. Oh, is there 2 feet of ice? That's a bummer. But with NICE, they can just use their cell phones that they're already on 1,000 times a day, and get their health care. And then get their prescription called in. We're
gonna have to talk about, because this doesn't have anything to do with fair, but like I'm very
it's
curious.
It's a benefit, yeah.
Oh, it's a benefit.
It's a benefit to our members, yeah. Totally.
Okay. Back up though. So like, what if you were like, hey, I have to go to a doctor for something? They're like, no. You literally don't have to go because we come to you. Like, there's no point when you're like, what about my broken arm? Like, does this cover ER visits? Okay, go.
I mean, they'll send you if they can't fix it. They'll send you to someone more.
They're like, bite this kid. I got a broomstick.
Yeah, dang it, that's a bummer. Do it remotely. We'll walk you through it. It can be like a WikiHow. No, they do. They'll send an X-ray. Like there was a story that this one guy was unhoused and he needed healthcare, and they were like, well, we can, let's do it remotely. They couldn't figure it out. It was a broken ankle. They thought it was a broken ankle. So then they met him in a local Walmart, drove up with their X-ray machine, did an X-ray of his ankle. Turns out, I don't even remember the story. Like, I think it's fine. They bandage him up, roll out.
Oh my God.
Free, because he's already paid for that $45.
This is the great solution to agricultural healthcare like ever. I have a very dear friend of mine, lives across the street from me. He's I can't remember. He's like an NP or something, but he works on surgery like crazy, right? And he was like, have you ever heard of degloving? It's like,
oh yeah, actually I've heard of that. Yeah, don't wear your rings on anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I actually had heard of, I knew that was a risk because when I train jiu-jitsu, I have to take off my wedding ring because I've seen people whose skin gets pulled down. He's like, there was a farmer whose entire arm got degloved. And it's literally like the scene from Terminator when he cuts and pulls the skin off. He's like, the whole sleeve of skin had gotten pulled off this guy's arm. I was like, oh my God, did you reattach skin? He's like, no, because he waited a month to come see us. So this guy on his farm, agricultural area, just wraps up his arm and is like hoping it heals itself. And finally, after a month, he comes in. He's like, hey, I got this problem. They're like, okay, what's going on under here? He takes off. They're like, oh,
yikes.
Oh,
yeah, that was going to be more than a Band-Aid.
Yeah,
sure.
right.
Yeah.
And so they had to do like skin grafts. And amazingly, they said it was a miracle that it didn't get infected because you have like exposed muscle tissue. Yeah. It's like your skin is your last line of defense and protection. But like you had exposed everything, like his veins are there, like just pumping blood.
Can you imagine if he could have just made a phone call?
Right.
Crazy, right?
That's why I'm saying like this appears to be, because especially when you're dealing with ag labor, it's like people are not leaving when tasseling. Detasseling. Like there's like these things need to happen. Yeah. We don't have the luxury of like taking the day off. Like we have to do this right now. Right. And it sounds like that's like the ultimate solution of like, we'll meet you with the thing, with the skin graft. Like you just keep on the tractor, just come over towards the road. We'll jump out. I don't know if that's like their medical advice, like hang out on the tractor. It's fine. We'll attach your skin. Well, don't hang out on the tractor. Keep working on the tractor, but we will pull up aside you and hold out your arm out the window and we'll diagnose you.
I'm sure it's just like that. So the insurance company's going to hear this and then they're going to be like, oh my gosh, she's a liability. We can't. We're talking about this. But no, you should talk to them or the broker, our broker, because you can only get NICE insurance through our specified brokers.
Dang.
I know.
That's
so
awesome.
Cool. It's so cool.
That's super cool.
Isn't it cool?
So you have a lot of benefits. You guys are full bore. Like we connect you to the network. We have actual member perks like NICE health insurance and
discounts off music for restaurant owners.
That's awesome.
Yeah, lots of things.
Like live music or what do you?
No, like for their live music because you have to pay for the rights to play the live music. So we have discounts through like BMI and All Track that they can pay because they have to pay for those anyway in order to play the live music. So they get a discount anyway. Like you're going to be paying it anyway, paying to us, and it offsets the discount. Not
owning my Chinese restaurant, I don't know these things. So
were you going to have live music at your Chinese restaurant?
Probably not. Well, although that like one string guitar,
right,
pretty fire.
I'm sure it's licensed.
I'm sure. Okay. Well, listen to me. Have we missed anything? We've talked about a lot of things, Tammie.
Yep.
Have we missed any big things that you want to hit? I love what you're doing, by the way. Like, I love it.
I love it too. This is the best. Like, this is a dream job for me. The best organization ever. I'm so excited I'm here even. Sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to go to work. Oh no, I get to go to work.
That's all. Yeah. I feel very similarly. I get very excited coming to the studio. I'm here at 5:30 in the morning, just like firing off coffee.
Too. It's the coffee. Yeah. It can fuel me all day long. I don't care. I think I would just say that in an ag-driven economy, it's imperative that all of us protect it. Like, it's not just on the farmer. It's not just on the developer. It's not just on the commissioner. It's not just on the legislator. It's on all of us to be active. And you can be active through FAIR. You don't have to have a farm or a restaurant or a bar. It'd be cool if you did, but you don't have to. You can still just be a friend of FAIR and donate to us so that we can do the work on your behalf. But you have done your job and helped advocate for the whole entire food system.
Yeah.
Which is what we want, the whole thing.
Yeah, and especially coming out of, and again, I hate discussing time frame, but especially coming out of the time frame where we all saw the supply chain
break down,
get dismantled.
Yeah,
being able to rely locally for our real fundamental things, I think that's certainly a priority more of mine. And a lot of people I talk to, they're like, I want to figure out how I never have to, like, we never have to be worried about this anymore. Like, I don't want to have to worry about things being delivered from out of state or out of country or, you know, whatever. Like, let's become like our own ecosystem.
Can I break some like really exciting news, like on your show in regard to that?
Go.
So we just partnered exclusively with this group that has essentially brought producers to consumers directly through our website. So they have a platform. It's called Rico. They have a platform and producers can list all their stuff on their platform. So eggs, pork, I'm going to fail this so hard. Whatever.
Beef,
you can
whatever.
put, tamales, doesn't even matter. Like, put all their stuff that they've made on this website. And then consumers can go, oh, you know what? I'm going to go to the grocery store. But first I'm going to see if we have local eggs, beef, whatever, tamales. Yeah. And go through and check it all. And it could be from all these different producers. And then it goes into your little cart, just like on Etsy, just like on Amazon, eBay, doesn't matter. You can go on to all the producers you want, all the different food, local food you want, and then click all this, check out in one place, and then pick up your stuff at a local location.
Oh,
food hubs.
No, I was going to say that last piece. It's like, how does it get to you? Like, how do you engage in it?
It's
so then you can just
location.
check
Rico
off.
Rings. They're called Rico Rings. It's the platform is called Rico. We're going to house it on our website, on the FAIR Idaho website, and people will be able to get their local food locally.
That's fantastic.
Isn't it so cool? Breaking news. Yeah.
Breaking news. You heard it here first,
yes.
folks. Yes. God bless it.
Yeah.
Well, Tammie, thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for what you're doing in FAIR. Thank you for advocating for local, everything, the producers. Like, that's really, it's really important. And again, it's, as a younger person, I didn't care. Like, I would just go to Safeway or whatever and just buy. I didn't even care. But in recent years, it has become really, really important. And to see agencies taking the bull by the horn, so to speak, and really getting after it so that dumb consumers like me can find the things, it's fantastic.
It is.
Yeah.
I remember it ultimately goes into your taxes. Like, it's full circle. Don't want to pay for the roads, buy local. Maybe you pay a little bit more at the Rico ring when you pick up, but remember that $2 went in for every dollar, so you get $3 back.
That's beautiful.
Yep.
It's beautiful.
Pays for your stuff.
Thank you for coming in. MTU Studios is the proud producer for the Ada County Sheriff Podcast, the Idaho Wildlife Federation Podcast, the State Representative Ted Hill Podcast, the Idaho State PTA Podcast, and many more. If you or your organization is thinking about starting a podcast, MTU Studios would love to help. Just check out mtustudios.com.